Hello everybody, my name is Chris Kouldoukis. I'm the Protopsaltis at St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church in Seattle, Washington, and today we are going to start learning about first tone Eirmologic. We're going to focus on the theory of this mode today, alright? And of course, as always, if you ever have any questions, go ahead and send an email to the link in the description, or if you would like to schedule some one-on-one lessons, you can do so at the email or at the link that I've left in the description as well. So let's get started here. So we're going to look at the key signature first. So here we have, just like when we had in plagal fourth tone, we had ichos, which means tone. Here we have this, which means first mode here. So whenever we see this symbol, it means first mode. And then we have pa, which means we have first mode off of pa. We can have first mode off of pa. We can also have first mode off of ke. Pa is the more common one that you will see if you're chanting just everyday services like Vespers and Orthodox and Liturgy. But there are also pieces in pa which we'll talk about in a later lesson. So in the context of a piece, you might see something like this. Ichos protos, right here, first tone, with this key signature. All right? Now let's talk a little bit about the scale. So first tone, just like plagal fourth tone, uses the diatonic scale. But instead of being from ni, like it is in plagal fourth tone, first tone has its base on pa. So you'll see the scale here from pa. We have our two tetrachords, 10 moria between pa and vu, 8 moria between vu and ga, 12 between ga and di. The diazeptikos tonos, the dividing tone here, that divides up the two tetrachords, and then we have ke, zon, ni, pa, which you will notice has the exact same intervals as the lower tetrachord. So these two tetrachords are the exact same intervals. Now, we talked about this in the plagal fourth theory lesson, so I won't talk about it too much. But remember, when you compare this to Western music, 12 moria is a whole step, 6 moria is a half step. So when we have things like 8, we have to think about going in between those two things. You wouldn't be able to play this on a piano, right? So let's hear what this scale would sound like. If we were singing plagal fourth, starting from ni, ni pa vu ga di ke zon ni zo ke ni ga vu pa ni. Remember, the zo is flexible. Up, it's natural on the way up, flat on the way down. Now if we were on ni pa, and we started on this pa for first tone, pa vu ga di ke zon ni pa ni zo ke ni ga vu pa. So that's our scale for first tone. And let's look at now the dominant tones. So just like in plagal fourth, we have dominant tones in first tone Eirmologic. And these dominant tones are pa and di. So pa is the base of the mode, and it's the final resting point for any final cadences. And then we have di, which is the fourth of the scale, and it's also used as an incomplete cadence point. We also use di for intoning psalm verses. So, here's an example, right? This is the Apolitikion of the Resurrection in first tone. Now, if you see, we're starting on pa. We don't have the key signature here because it's cut off just from the screenshot, but you can imagine it here. This is from pa, pa, and then immediately, where do we jump? We jump up 3 to di. Pa di di ga di ka di di ga ga bu ga di di. So you can see that the melody is really just moving around the di, right? And even as we move on, ga bu ga di ke ke ni ka ni ga di ga bu ga di di. We end on the here. As we see, it's an incomplete cadence on the. So pa and the, our two dominant tones for first tone Eirmologic. Now, of course, we can't move on without learning the Apichima for first tone Eirmologic. Ananes, we have pa here, pa, and then we move down, so it starts on ni with our klasma, so 2 beats here, but when we look at the next character, we have the gorgon on it, so it's actually 1.5. 1, and ni, pa, pa, and this is held for 2 beats. Ni, pa, pa. If I'm beating with my hand, ni, pa, pa. And then we add the syllables. Ananas. If you've listened to any recordings in first tone, this should be very familiar to you. So that helps us get into the sound of first tone. You're going to do it before you sing any pieces in first tone Eirmologic. It's the same Apichima for Stichoraric as well. Now, the melodic attractions for the Eirmologic first tone are pretty simple. Really, zo is the only one you need to worry about, and it's just the same as plagal fourth. If we're moving up, then zo is going to be natural. If we're descending, zo is going to be flat. So here's an example. We'll just start right here so we can get some of these zos in here. Oh no. So we'll do the Apichima. Oh nanas. Pa pa vugadi 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 kezoni. So here we saw the zo is flat because we hit it, but it doesn't go up ascending above zo. So we're moving down, so the zo is going to be flat. The kezoni, and then here again. Kezo keni gadi gadi gavu di gavu papa. So those are some examples of the zo being flat when we are moving down. And of course, as we move up, we would be in an ahia phrase. So the zo would be sharp. They're not sharp, sorry, it would be natural. So if we started here, pa vugadi ga ga vugadi kedi di kezoni zo kedi gadi. So this zo here was natural. Kezoni in its natural place, and on the way down, since we're descending, it's going to be flat. And just like we learned in the plagal fourth theory lesson, since we're in an ahia phrase, that ke is going to be attracted to that natural zo. So now let's talk about the Eson. So we have 2 main Eson points in first tone. We have pa, which we use when there's a phrase in the lower tetrachord, and then we have the, which we use as an Eson for ahia phrases. And when the melos moves below that pa, the Eson may follow. So we'll see here that we have pa and Eson for all of this because we're in the lower tetrachord. We do kind of venture into the higher tetrachord, but we're not fully in ahia, so the Eson is not going to change. It stays on pa. And then here, the melos dips down below pa. And so since it dips down below pa, we see this M here in the Eson, which means mazi, which in Greek mazi just means together. So that means that we sing this part all together. So let's hear what this sounds like. Onanas, the zokeni, the kagadi, the kani gavugadi, the gadi kadi pa pa pa, nizokezoni pa. Now, of course, I can't do an Eson while I'm singing. But you can just imagine that whole phrase has a pa Eson with it, with the melody moving along with the Eson as we move down under Pa, and then it comes back to rest at Pa here. If we continue on here with the Eson, we'll see the Aya phrase here. So we'll see that the Eson is Pa until we hit Aya, and then it's going to move up to the, brief dip below to Ni, and then we move back up to the in the melos, and Pa in the Eson as we finish this phrase, cadencing on the low Pa. Onanas Gadi kedi di kezoni zo kedi gadi ni di gagamu pam. So you'll notice that the ke, of course, is attracted to the natural zo here as we're in Aya, and then when we move back down, we're descending. And since we're descending, the zo is flat again. Since we're in Aya, you may sharp this ga as well. And then we're fully out of Aya here when we dip down to the low ni. Ni di. And the Eson will follow. Ni pa, and it'll hold Pa here. Pa, as the melody continues on. So that's all about the first tone Eirmologic theory. Thank you for watching again. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out for me. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like the video if you found it helpful. And I will see you in the next video where we will look at some repertoire examples for first tone Eirmologic.